let's talk about how you argue. How we argue with our partners reveals so much about ourselves. And what it also reveals is how stuck we often are in really unhelpful ways of communicating that are actually going to sabotage what we're trying to achieve. So today I'm going to talk through some typical mistakes we make when we argue or communicate difficult things with our partners. It's important to have this awareness and to be thinking about how can I do things differently. This I'll be dealing with my communication skills series that I will develop now into a full communication series itself. So what do we do wrong? Well, the first thing we do wrong is we have the same argument over and over again, but just about something different. Okay, when we argue, we are in a habit. How we argue becomes habitual. So we will habitually notice certain things. We will habitually think the same things about our partner, and we will habitually translate and interpret what's going on around us into some sort of hurt that is familiar to us. And we do it over and over again. When I'm working with a couple, this is so evident. It's that the same hurts are being reopened, the same sentences are even being said to one another, and the same feelings are what are coming up. And why this is important is habits are not about the present moment. It's about something in our system, something in our psyches that has become automatic. So we don't have to think about things too deeply. We don't have to bring new resources to the situation because it's habituated. As humans, we are always trying to automate things all the time. And we automate our relationships. And we automate our reactions to our partners. So we need to be careful. We get our cue, which is an irritation or a trigger or something from our partners, and our brains go, oh, I know how to deal with this, and the same old thing comes rolling out. So if we're trying to improve our relationships, if we're trying to create something new, we have to become incredibly conscious of what we are unconsciously and just habitually doing. So recognize, think about the last few conflict points with your partner. Same old, I bet. You'll recognize your responses. You'll recognize your hurts. You'll recognize his phrases, her phrases, your phrases. Nothing is actually that surprising after a period of time with the way a couple communicate when things are difficult. So a big part of working on ourselves and working on our relationships is bringing new things, new responses, new ways of being patient, tolerant, listening to hear, not listening so you can get your point across and tell the other person that they're wrong. We have to start doing things differently, and the first part of that is recognizing the things that we're doing the same over and over again. Another thing that we do, which is, I guess, human and really understandable, but what we do is we look for the hurts. You know, as I say, we are ready, primed, and waiting for the hurt. And again, this is almost a habit. It's kind of, I know this is going to happen, so I just have to wait, and oh, there it is, and now here I am, all disappointed all over again. We need to be careful. We need to be careful. We're always on the lookout to be offended, to be hurt, to be let down. And whilst that may be happening, actually in this process, that is the only thing that we are tuned into. So we're not seeing some of the positives. We're not seeing the behavior that we maybe don't recognize. We're maybe not seeing the love languages that are being communicated to us because it's not our specific love language in exactly the way we want when we want. But we will see the hurt. We will see the upset. We will see the disappointing behavior, and we'll have the whole response and script to go with it. Okay, that's not going to be helpful to the relationship. So much of couples therapy is about bringing more balance into how we look at and how we view our relationships and our partner. So yes, Of course, there will be things to work on, but to talk that the whole relationship is completely toxic and negative and awful, that is disproportionate and that is imbalanced, and it's also inaccurate. You know, nothing is completely that. But in our hurt and when we're triggered, we just kind of blanket statement the relationship, and that blanket statement is negative, and we need to be really careful. Because how does someone come in and meet our needs when we are so convinced of their inability to do so, and have got proof of this and this and this and this and this of every time they haven't, and are not even seeing their efforts when they are? This is when we need to be really, really careful, because what we do is we can inadvertently make our partners the enemy. This is so prevalent. And, you know, as Terry Real says, you know, couples jostle for the victim position. It's kind of, we want to be the victim, and that means someone else has got to be the villain. And we make our partners the enemy. I see this so much. And often in a relationship, there's a big investment. There's an emotional investment for us, for the other person to be the bad guy. So we're hard done by, and we're misunderstood, and we're so hurt, and this awful person isn't sort of there for us. And it's kind of, what are we doing here? We're in a love relationship, and when we make our partner the enemy, do you know what we don't give enemies? We don't give them love. We don't give them the benefit of the doubt. We don't cut them any slack. We are on the defense, on the lookout, ready, because we've got an enemy here and we need to protect ourselves at all costs. And then stuff's happening in the relationship, and as a therapist I ask, is this real or imagined? This negativity and this persecution that you feel that you're getting, and I'm feeling attacked, and it's kind of, yes, okay, maybe that is happening, but also maybe it isn't. Maybe it's what you expect to happen. When we're defended, when we're on the lookout, we will see. We don't have to look far for negatives in our lives. We will find them. We will find them. And they sort of exponentially grow in our hearts. And then the danger with that is if our hearts harden, if we're with an enemy and we're protecting ourselves, our doors close. And we become withholding of love ourselves. We put ourselves in a position of waiting for the other person to say the right thing, to make it up, to apologize for whatever significant thing they have done wrong to us. And we lack insight into ourselves. What are we putting out into the relationship? If we're putting out the doors closed, if we're putting out, you're the enemy and I kind of hate you, what are we doing? This is a big mistake that we make, and we do it from the victim position because we feel so hurt, and maybe there is hurt and that is okay. But if we're in a relationship, we have to show up in our relationship with a bit of love in our hearts. We have to stay open. What happens all too often is our hearts close. Our hearts close, and then we're deeply upset and disappointed because, you know, no one cares. And it's like, how do we get in? How do we get into your heart? We need to be careful. It becomes like a fortress. So please think about some of these things. Reflect on how you argue with your partner. Think about the behavior that you do. Notice these things. These are things we need to begin to change, because if nothing changes, nothing changes. Really, really important points. Let me know your thoughts. I'll see you next time.